yes, but then the cursor shows up on the screen. I would just use that.
Okay.
Just this
And that would
little guy
forward
right
it.
here.
Okay.
It should, yes.
We're going to bring the meeting to order. The Women's City Council, I'm going to need to do a roll call at this time. Mayor Pro Tem, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Present.
Okay. Councilman Reinbark, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Councilman Anderson, are you here? Councilman Barnett, are you here? Councilmember Spears, are you with us?
Here.
Councilmember Waddell, are you with us? And the chair is here. All here and accounted for. Our first item of business is approval of the minutes, which is C1. C2 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply to the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency to become a Community Partners Loan Pool member.
Can I ask a question about that, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Reinbart.
Is that something over and above other financing programs that we have in place and have had in place? Is this something that's brand new?
Can we have Mrs. Rogers, Suzanne, come up and answer that question, please?
Hello, Mayor, members of council. Yes, Councilman Rivenbark, it is brand new for us. And what this will allow us to do by participating in this program with North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, It will allow us to process loans through that program for home buyers who are coming through our home buyer education program. And partner banks will then make a mortgage for these folks if they so choose, and they can live anywhere in the region, which expands the market area for our home buyers. And the city will receive $2,000 for every loan that we process, so the funds won't come from the general fund or city funds for processing these loans. And there is a $40,000 down payment that the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency provides along with this program to those borrowers. So we think it's an opportunity to provide, more loan products for the folks who are coming through our home buyer education program, and to leverage these additional programs and partner banks.
Does the group that we appoint via the appointments committee, the loan, I can't even say the words right now, will they be reviewing these loans, or is this something that's not included in their oversight?
No, sir, it's not included in their oversight. The loans will be processed according to the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency underwriting guidelines, and then approved through their process.
Okay. So there are not any monies coming from any of our other programs, either CDBG or any other monies coming from the city. These strictly are monies that are coming from banks and North Carolina Housing Finance?
With the exception, if one of the home buyers purchased a home within the city limits, then we may be able to layer an additional down payment onto the loan, and then that would be subject to our guidelines.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Okay. C3.
One more thing.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. No, Suzanne, I just want to say this looks good. I'm proud of that. That looks really good. So kudos to you and the staff for that.
Thank you.
Next item is C3, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for the year 2022 through 2023, 2023 through 2024, Section 5303 Planning Grant. And it's WMPO, and the budget is $4,769 in the first year match. Public hearings. PH1 is an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city to rezone property containing 8.76 acres of land located at 239, 245, 251, 261 Giles Avenue and 255, 257 Pfeiffer Avenue from R15 moderate density single dwelling district to an R5 CD medium density mixed residential conditional district for a 61 unit residential development. PH2 is an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city to rezone property containing 50.17 acres of land located at 3152 South 17th Street from O&I CD Office and Institutional Conditional District to MD 10 CD Medium Density Multi-Dwelling Residential District Conditional District and MD 17 CD High Density Multi-Dwelling Residential District Conditional District to allow for a residential development. This was continued from our July 19th meeting. PH3 is an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city to rezone property containing 0.45 of an acre of land located at 415 and 417 42nd Street from R10 residential to RBCD Regional Business Conditional District to allow an existing nightclub and beauty salon to continue and add a retail plant shop as a permitted use. This again was continued from our June 21st, 2022 meeting.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Reinbart.
I had a question for, I guess, Brian or whoever's there from planning.
Brian Chambers, Mr. Chambers.
Yes, sir.
When this came up sometime back, couple of months ago, or I can't keep up with it, but sometime the last time we heard this in front of us, I'd made or spoke with somebody about, instead of going with RB, conditional district, I just have a little bit of heartburn about RB creeping into the neighborhoods. That's the most intense commercial zoning we have. And I understand that it's CD, but it's kind of like getting the nose in the tent. Would it be not possible to go with CB?
I have to check the orders.
What are these uses that are not allowed that we could do with a
I don't think the nightclub is allowed in CD, but I can ask staff to look that up for me right
Well,
now.
it wasn't allowed where it is now.
Correct. I don't know that's something we considered. You'd be creating another level of nonconformity. Charlie, I don't know if I don't know if that discussion took place. I could check and see what would actually be allowed in CB. We can have that answer for you tomorrow night.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chambers.
Thank you.
PH5 is an ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair or demolish a dwelling at 813 Castle Street as unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing that a notice be placed thereon prohibiting its use or occupancy. And then PH6 is an ordinance amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 18, Section 18-157, lodging to reflect changes necessary to comply with the recent North Carolina Court of Appeals case law. Ordinances. 01 is an ordinance making supplemental appropriation in the amount of $959.50 to the Special Purpose Fund for the River to Sea Bikeway Ride.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir?
I do apologize. We have two code enforcements, PH4 and PH5. I believe I only heard PH5 on that one.
The ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair or demolish the dwelling at 813 Castle Street is unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing that a notice be placed thereon prohibiting its use or occupancy. Dr. Warren?
I think that corrects the issue.
Yeah, okay, very good. 01 is an ordinance making supplemental appropriations. I've already said that. 02 is an ordinance making supplemental appropriations to the Public Improvements Equipment Fund from a New Hanover County ABC Board grant in the amount of $40,000 for the purchase of e-bikes, maintenance equipment, and video production equipment. And then 03 is an ordinance making supplemental appropriations in the amount of $10,000 to the Special Purpose Fund to support the city's HUD-approved housing counseling program. 04A is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a grant agreement in the amount of $23,834 with the North Carolina Housing Coalition to serve as a sub-grantee for the HUD Housing Counseling Grant. And then item 04B, which is the ordinance making the supplemental appropriation in the amount of $23,834 to the Special Purpose Fund for a housing counseling program as a sub-grantee of the North Carolina Housing Coalition Housing Counseling Network Award. Then 05A is an ordinance authorizing the city council to accept an unimproved portion of right-of-way. This is at Giles Avenue and a platted unnamed variable width driveway by resolution and subsequently accept improvements within the accepted right-of-way after construction is completed and approved by the city by later resolution. And then 05B is a resolution officially accepting a portion of Giles Avenue and platted unnamed variable width right-of-way, unimproved right-of-way. And then resolutions. R1 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply to the Wilmington Urban Area Metropolitan Planning Organization for Surface Transportation Block Grant Program direct appropriate funds in the amount of $2,057,300 for installation of 2 traffic signals on South 3rd Street.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir?
here is a substitute item for this particular agenda item. It is being handed out to you now, I believe, and it has a correction in the amount of money that will be allocated. It is actually $2.4 million as opposed to 2.057. Just wanted to recognize that, and you'll be voting on the revised resolution tomorrow night.
So I'll read it again. The resolution authorizing the city manager to apply to the Wilmington Urban Area Metropolitan Planning Organization for Surface Transportation Block Grant Program direct attributable funds in the amount of $2,430,400 for the installation of 2 traffic signals on South 3rd Street. And then,
Bill?
yes, sir, Mr. Anderson.
I'm not sure exactly why this triggered this for me. I guess because that area, I think, has been talked about a lot, about pedestrian crossing, how that can be a challenging spot, or those areas. At some point in the next couple weeks, can we get an update on that hawk light on Market Street there at the military
Yes, sir.
cemetery, Port City job area?
Columbus Park.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Then R2, it's a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement with the New Hanover County Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. And this concludes our pre-agenda. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, we have a couple of items for you this morning, a couple of presentations from outside agencies, and then one from the internal staff. We also have a closed session. We'll begin this morning's briefings with introduction by Aubrey Parsley.
Morning, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Council has previously expressed an interest in hearing from some of our civic partnership program participants, and here for you this morning are a couple of our participants, the YWCA and UNCW CIE, Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. First up, YWCA. Give Dylan a moment to pull up the slides. So very excited to provide a brief introduction for our first presenter, Ms. Velva Jenkins, CEO of the YWCA Lower Cape Fear. Ms. Jenkins has been in a role with YWCA since 2019, and we are very fortunate to have her here in this community. She brings a wealth of experience to the area and to YWCA with over 30 years of economic and workforce development experience. And she was a part of the first small business center for Brunswick County, for Brunswick Community College. Her contributions to the area and state are very well known. In 2018, she was awarded the North Carolina Longleaf Pine Honor by Governor Cooper, which is the highest honor that a governor can bestow to those who have made significant contributions to their state of North Carolina. As broad context, YWCA has received funding from the city since fiscal year 2017, and they have performed successfully to all their obligations since the very beginning. YWCA submitted an application to the city's FY23 to FY25 Civic Partnership Program, and the selection committee recommended an award of $50,000 per year for 3 years to YWCA to go toward economic development programming. This programming overall fits very well within the ecosystem of entrepreneurial support that, services that we offer in the city by nonprofits. It's unique, it's purposeful, it's impactful, and here to speak to it in greater detail is Ms. Velva Jenkins. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, Zaffo, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council. I bring you greetings from the Board of Directors and the staff of the YWCA Lower Cape Fear. I am truly grateful for this opportunity to provide more information and highlight a significant need in the community to empower women and their families, to bring about self-sufficiency and resiliency. The YWCA is dedicated to eliminating racism and empowering women and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. Since 1914, the YWCA Lower Cape Fears programs, serves, and services have furthered the YWCA's vision to root out injustice, transform institutions, and create a world that sees women, girls, people of color the way we do. Equal, powerful, unstoppable. The YWCA is a full-time, affordable, 3-star, state-licensed child care center with an after-school program and aquatic center. These services help support our mission-driven community in outreach programs and racial justice and advocacy work. For centuries, women have taken a role in ensuring financial security for their families. Before women were known to work outside of their homes, they created an environment to assist in narrowing the financial gap of generating income within the household. Today, we know that this household or this home-based business, as it is, they're doing this in their homes, but they don't realize they're working with a home-based business. There are so many women in our community that are relying on a second income to survive. And you probably know some of these women. Women who are baking in their kitchen, selling cupcakes, wedding cakes, pies, or doing hair, making hair and skin products, or keeping their neighbors' children while they work. Most of these women do not realize they're operating a business. All they know is that they are creating extra income to make ends meet. These women are fearless, and they're innovative shakers in our community on the path of starting and growing a successful business. Yes, we have many resources in our community that are assisting small businesses start up, like Genesis Block, Cape Fear Community College Small Business Center, Channel, UNCWCIE, just to name a few. These organizations do not focus on women that are diddling and daddling with hobbies. They see this is not a focus group for them. The YWCA Lower Cape Fear sees this as an opportunity to empower women by giving them the tools, skills, hand-holding, and provide wraparound services so they can grow an idea of necessity into a viable business. In 2019, the city awarded the YWCA $40,000 for 3-year startup in 2020, and then the pandemic, and we are so grateful for that award. The pandemic changed our path of making a significant difference in a community that is already economically deprived. The pandemic exacerbated job loss, health, social and economic status of people of color, and specifically women. Their ideas for economic security was also put on hold because they had to begin to care for children that were no longer in school or loved ones suffering from COVID-19. It has been a challenge for YWCA to launch this initiative until this year. Instructors are now certified to teach the curriculum. Curriculum has been designed for the target of the community, for our target in this community. A virtual learning platform has been created for those who are not yet comfortable with in-person settings. Our request for funding for 2022 through 2025 will address 4 milestones. Number 1, increase the economic security of women and minority enterprises by training at least 75 entrepreneurs in developing successful startups, and provide mentoring and coaching for these women. Number 2, increase the number of startups from 25 to 30. Number 3, provide a microloan fund, and we already have a local credit union that has committed $2,500 for micro grants to qualified startups. Number 4, develop community support and ownership, and establish business owners to provide leadership and mentoring. I would love for you to hear from a couple of our participants in the program. See if I can get this to play.
Hi, I'm Faye Brinkley. I'm Renee Brinkley, and we took the New Choices class, Living the Dream. And we decided to take the class because we wanted something more. We've always worked part-time jobs, cleaning jobs, so we decided we wanted to have our own cleaning business. And the New Choices program helped us to develop a business plan because we really didn't know what we were doing. We looked up a lot of stuff online, which was really confusing. So we talked to Janiqua, and she just guided us in the right direction to do our business plan. And we took the class online, which was very convenient. We could do it in the car, which we had to sometimes because we weren't late. And then we had our business coach, Miss Linda. I'm sorry, I can't remember her last name, but she was very helpful. She told us like what she did when she started her business and the steps that she took. And we took a lot of notes and tried to follow as many of those steps as possible. And so we made us a business plan, and we've been putting out little fillers to people, parents here who keep saying, oh, we need new cleaning people at our job. So we have about 4 prospects from parents from the Y. And we also officially started a business, got the business name, LLC, which was really pretty easy. We just went online and followed the steps. Ms. Linda told us how to do it, and went from there. When we have one more step to do, we have to register with the state of North Carolina, that is a fee, and Janiqua said the Living the Dream program can help us pay for that.
Recommend it.
Definitely would recommend this. And we class to about maybe 4 or 5 people that want to start. 2 of them want to start a cleaning business like us, but hey, competition is good. And another friend, she wants to open a hair salon, and my niece who wants to open a beauty supply store. So we recommend the class to several people, and they like the fact that they could definitely probably take it online. So if it's going to be online again, most of these people will probably take it. Yeah.
It's all about working with women in our community to help empower them and be better citizens in this community, because they now have that equality to be able to compete and bring about financial resiliency in their home and their community. Thank you for listening to our presentation and considering this opportunity for the YWCA, and I'm willing to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Anderson?
Ms. Jenkins, welcome. Wanted to ask you a couple questions, just clarification at first. Is this the, you might need that. Let's see.
I'll get it before I leave.
I thought it might be, okay, I was going to, let me ask, so did I hear you say, so this is going to be the first full year of it because of the pandemic, is that right?
We started in 2020 as the first grant allowed us to, but of course, the very first year, it did not do anything. We couldn't get people to come out to programs. We were trying to figure it out ourselves. How do we do it online? It was all new to us as well as everyone else in the community when the pandemic hit. The second year, we got a little feel for how to do it and how to provide online programming. And also the business coach was able to call and make contacts to individuals and work with them one-on-one over the phone. And this year has been much, much better launch, because now we got people that's coming to workshops, seminars, and also doing the one-on-one mentoring.
And on one of your slides, so I think your goal was to try to work with 75, attract 75 a year? Is that?
No, 75 over the 3 years.
Okay. And And the output of that, I mean, the people that successfully complete it would be 75 or something?
No, all of them. And you know what? That's a very good question, Councilman Anderson, because if we can deter people from broadening their idea that may not be successful, then we have been successful with helping that individual. Because some people feel like an idea, it's their idea, it's going to work, they invest money, and then all of a sudden they feel like it's flopped. So when we can help people make the right decision, then we have been successful in our program. So all 75 people that come to our program over the 3 years may not be viable for a business startup.
I guess I'm just trying to get to a success rate. What's the goal for you? Like, how many folks do you, I mean, I guess where I understand we award funds is, you know, how many people to participate and what is the success rate? So, you know, I guess that's what I'm asking. What's your goal in terms of
In my
success rate?
proposal, I have said that we would definitely try to work with 33 startups. That is our goal. 75 would be the number of people that come through our program and make a decision not to come in, not to start a business, or some of them will start a business, but our goal is 33.
I know that it's kind of a retarded time period, so it's hard because of the pandemic. Is that kind of an annual thing, or?
33 is over, our proposal was over 3 years.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnett?
I like the program, I really do. My questions are, number one, you're doing, excuse me, you're doing the classes again, right? The online classes?
The classes could be online or in person. Some people feel that online is best for them because of time. Some people are still afraid of COVID and don't want to come out. Just like you see in churches, some people rather do online worship or come into the church. With this program, they'll have an option. We'll do some in-person, and some people learn better in person. I know I do. I'd rather have a one-on-one or someone that's right there. So we'll have options for people to come through the program.
Okay, so they can like go online and pull up the program, like,
Exactly. Well, they'll have an online facilitator. It'll be virtual.
okay. And it'll be
They will
scheduled.
actually have a person helping them with their questions and answers. So it's not like they're watching a video.
Oh, okay.
They will be able to interact.
All right, and then my last question is, Faye and Renee Brinkley, what's their business name?
Pardon me?
What is their business name?
The couple, I mean,
Yeah, Faye and
Renee, I'm not sure, because I'm not the outreach person that works with them.
Okay,
I'm the CEO, so I don't know what their business name, and they didn't give it in their video.
right. And they're a cleaning company?
They're a cleaning company.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I know some people that need a house clean.
I can send you their business name.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Mhm.
Not my house, I mean, other.
I got you.
Okay.
I got you. Thank you.
Appreciate the presentation.
Sure.
So basically, you're equipping these people to form a business entity and set up a business operating account. You're kind of giving people the basics on entrepreneurship from a ground up level.
Yes, let me
correct?
give you, Councilperson Whitehall, let me give you an idea of what we're working with. Let's use the cake baking person as an example. They make a wedding cake. They sell that wedding cake for $125. Most women that are just doing it think they made $125. They didn't, sir. They had ingredients that they had to pay for. They had electricity to operate that stove to cook that cake. They had their time. And a real business, you will back all of that out, and then you will see the clear profit. So we want to teach them the actual way to operate a business, when to determine that they have made a profit or if they have made a loss.
Understood. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
And thank you so much.
Thank
Y'all
you
have a
very
good day.
much. Thank you.
Good morning again. So in a moment, you'll be hearing from Ms. Heather McWhorter, UNCW's newly named Director for the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Heather brings considerable experience to the role. She was named Interim Director of the CIE back in August of last year, and at the same time was also running UNCW's Small Business and Tech Development Center, which she'd been doing since 2017. Prior to joining us here in Wilmington, Heather worked at Penn State for 17 years as the director for their small business development program and as an entrepreneurial consultant, so she is very, very well versed in this space and also brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our area. I've gotten to know Heather and the operation at CIE over the past few months. I see the work that they do as very important to the economic development prospects and activities in our community and region. In my view, they provide three critical things to the community. First is organizing resources. They've built a coalition of other entrepreneur support groups in the area. They connect with them regularly to make sure they're not doing things like doubling the hill in terms of spending the same money on the same thing for our region. So they really try and oversee collectively that they're making efficient use of the resources that they have. Number two, they also connect resources to talent. They've built an expansive network of entrepreneurs, mentors, potential funding sources, and they do a very good job of brokering those connections across those different groups. And then lastly, number three, retention of talent. The university is obviously a hotbed of talent for our area. And if we want the best, some of the best and brightest graduates from UNCW to start a business, we want them to do it here in our area, and we want Heather and her team available to help them keep those prospects and keep those jobs here in Wilmington. So with that, let me turn it over to Heather. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm great. I hope you had a nice weekend. So today marks my 1-month anniversary of being the director of CIE. It's my dream job. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So I think everyone has heard the story of the Lorax who speaks for the trees. I'm Heather. I speak for the entrepreneurs in your community. Entrepreneurs aren't organized in any particular way. They're not unionized. They're not necessarily chamber members. They're kind of this loose group, but they create jobs, right? They solve problems in our community that I'll be talking about. Entrepreneurship empowers ideas. It empowers people, like we just heard about from Velva. And it also empowers communities to do great things. Our community was just ranked the top in the nation as a startup community. Number 1 for cities 300,000 and less. Number 2 in the world, just after Cambridge and UK. So it's okay to be number 2 to them, right? So we definitely have something really cool going on in the community. I want to see that going. But entrepreneurs, of course, they need things on the inside. They need the passion. They need resiliency. They need to learn things, but they also need support. So a few things of what we've been doing this year. You may remember back in October, I came and invited everyone to All Blue Week, the Alliance for the Blue Economy. We're working on standing up that and bringing, right now we have a really nice cluster of fintech businesses, health tech businesses, but what about the blue tech, right? So we are uniquely positioned to be a hub for the blue economy, the only one between Boston and Miami. So I came and talked to you about that. In the picture, you'll see Coast Guard Rear Admiral Laura Dickey speaking as one of our keynotes. You will also see in the top left corner, we hosted the engineering students from NCANT to come down to do a tour of the port, to go to aquaculture facilities, of course, go to Center for Marine Sciences. We competed in an international competition with them, with UNCW students. That was another CIE initiative. They put together a business plan for a really cool energy technology. So that's just a few things that we have going on. So Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship does a lot of things. Our key mission is to accelerate high-impact entrepreneurs. So what is that term, high impact? High-impact entrepreneurs tend to make more jobs in our community. They create impact in the community in which they live. They're solving problems. Again, I mentioned those health tech, fintech, blue tech. Doesn't have to be a tech business, but that's the type of business that is our sweet spot. We're also focused on building that entrepreneurial pipeline. You may be familiar with the programs that we have back in the middle school and high school. We have a huge high school innovation challenge at Keenan Auditorium every year where hundreds of students come to pitch their best entrepreneurial ideas, and they get checks from the chancellor's office, and that's really fun, and they get to do tours, of course, of campus. Our third is to create a vibrant innovation hub, and part of that is working with the other partners. We have 15 or so members in the coalition. We're always looking to see, are any entrepreneurs slipping through the cracks? What other partners do we need to make sure that everyone succeeds? So last year, we supported 180 startups. We also have a very robust group of volunteers that are past CEOs or they've started businesses. We have 140 mentors that work at the CIE to help new businesses get started. Thank goodness. They really help to extend our services. Last year, we engaged 320 UNCW students, and we had 6,000 event attendees. So often we're asked, yeah, but who are you helping, right? So we have a startup incubator and a co-working space. These are our current tenants. I'll point out Electronic Lab Logs is one of the logos up there in the top left corner. So Electronic Lab Logs has several employees, and if you think about the really expensive diagnostic equipment in hospitals, hundreds of thousands of dollars. With all the greatest technologies, they still use paper logs for maintaining that. And the paper logs aren't necessarily complete and accurate. So this is an electronic solution for the paper logs to replace it, to make sure that equipment is maintained. CIE mentors. So when somebody comes to our center and wants a mentor team, if they ask for the team, if they get a team of these wonderful volunteers works with them for at least 6 months. These are some of the businesses that have had that opportunity. There are 2 startups up there that are taking on the opioid crisis, one through wearables and being able to predict if someone has relapsed. The other one through making sure that first exposure to opioids, which often is through dental procedures, doesn't occur. He has another solution. Just a lot of really cool businesses. I could talk about this all day, but I know I have limited time. So our program funding, this is something that I know you were interested in learning more about. This is a breakdown of our funding last year. You'll see that about 60%, 50-some% is from UNCW. It is our core appropriation and from our research foundation. And then after that, our tenant space revenue. So of course, our offices that we have in our incubator space, we get monthly revenue from that. That's followed by the City of Wilmington, and then NCIDEA, the statewide entrepreneurial foundation. Over the years, the City of Wilmington, since we started, that piece of the pie has gotten smaller we're working on, diversifying our funding. And one thing that you'll see from me as a director is pulling in federal funds to expand our operations. And so that match from the city will be particularly critical to match the funds for federal proposals. So over the 3 years, again, I believe you wanted to know how we've been spending our money. Here is a breakdown of the expenditures of how we spent the money the past 3 years. So about a third of the money was spent specifically with investor pitch coaching. So when you think about, you have these potentially scalable ideas, they need an infusion of cash, right? From angels, venture capitals. Not everyone's born knowing how to talk to an investor. And so we teach them how to do that, and that's the coaching. We teach them about the 11-slide pitch deck that the investors expect to see, and then we've had a variety of events. And then you'll see the other events listed there, the special innovation events. A big part of that was Fish 2.0, which you might remember that Diane Durant's had, the big Sustainable Fish Conference, and then the Blue Economy Conference. So looking ahead, and what I proposed earlier this year is really 4 key areas. We know now that resiliency is really key in helping these entrepreneurs. I've helped entrepreneurs for a couple decades now, which is kind of weird to say because I don't feel that old. But we never really talked about resiliency before. But when you think about a tech entrepreneur, it takes them 7 years to get traction. So if you think about 7 years of stress in your home of not bringing in a steady paycheck before you might get that first big check. So I have gotten a little bit of seed money from NC IDEA. We've rolled out our first program called Startup EQ that we're helping the highest potential entrepreneurs in our community with this. But I'd like to see that continued because I think that if our entrepreneurs don't, if they can't last long term, then they're not going to create the jobs that we want. Continue to attract entrepreneurs. We want them to come here to our entrepreneurial hub, and we want them in particular, the people to stay here. We want people to grow their business here. When you think about economic gardening, that's encouraging people here to grow and scale their businesses. And then, of course, that last bullet, it's our dream to, and I hope your dream as well, to establish Wilmington as the next Blue Economy hub. So I believe there were some questions about, the evolution of our funding. In the beginning, we did ask for startup funds for our incubator, and in the second round of funding, there was a continuation of that when we were still looking at maximizing the incubator occupancy. The proposal in the continuation of funding is very different. It has nothing to do with our incubator now. It's really all outward looking, and it has to do with what's going on in our community right now. As I mentioned, we're #1 in the nation. Let's continue that. Let's get people here. Let's capitalize on that in the moment. We want to make sure our highest potential entrepreneurs survive and keep taking steps with that blue economy because I think that'll be our community's next big win. This is the last slide. So a few things you might want to mark your calendars with. My welcome reception's on Wednesday. Everybody should have received an invitation already. It's at Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at 4 o'clock. If you haven't been to CIE recently, it looks great. I'd love to have you there. Our art students came in during COVID and painted murals about the city of Wilmington, about our beaches, and then the next one's about, next hallway is about New Hanover County. And so the murals are really cool. Also big, Welcome Wednesdays, starting in September, the first Wednesday of the month. Anybody in the community can come in, take a tour. CIE will be fully staffed. If you're working on a startup, come in, co-work for free all day. A big part of that is going to be us connecting entrepreneurs to the services, the other community partners such as YWCA that can help them the best at where they are, because entrepreneurship is a journey, and that's why we have a spectrum of providers in our community. Finally, the last one that I want to mention on that list is Global Entrepreneurship Week. This year, CIE is the community organizer for Global Entrepreneurship Week. That is an international celebration of entrepreneurship that occurs in 130 countries around the world. I was involved in this before and eventually made it the largest in the nation. So I have big dreams to do that here too, but it'll take a few years. But this year we will have some really cool events. First, we're partnering with Cucalores to have our 10 by 10. That will be downtown at Thalian when we match 10 filmmakers and 10 entrepreneurs. That'll be on the Friday of that week. We're also having, as another example, Entrepreneur Day, when any UNCW faculty member with a class on that Wednesday can request an entrepreneur speaker, and I will line them up with a community member to come in to talk about what it's like to own a business and to expose the students to that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions? Mr. Anderson?
Heather, welcome.
Thank you.
And welcome to town. A few questions, and some of this is, you're probably up to speed on, but you may not be. I mean, this is, the way we were pitched this originally, this investment was as a seed money and for a few years. And those of us that have been on council that long still remember that. So we're trying to, I guess what we're trying to digest, or what I'm trying to digest, is our perspective on that should change. It's never going to be, it's an annual investment. It is no longer seed money. You're never, the promise that was made that it would be, pay for itself over time is just not reality. Is that a fair statement?
I think that's a fair statement. The support for entrepreneurs isn't going to go away. Of course, our incubator is up and running, and we want to continue to be a good partner for the city. I want you to consider me an extension, a subject matter expert. Anytime you have a question about entrepreneurs, please, text me, call me. This is all I think about is entrepreneurs. But we need ongoing support to continue to provide ongoing support to our entrepreneurs.
There's some some words you use like supported and goal. I guess through all that, I know entrepreneurship is, like you said, a journey. It's not like, okay, these many people leave and then they maybe, I don't know what you call it, graduate from the program in some way or some fashion or form, and they may do fine for 2 years and then it may fizzle out or what have you. But how should we manage your success? I mean, because when we're trying to decide, okay, you got this X many people that you're accepting in the program. I don't know how, if you say, it almost sounds like anyone can go over there and work for free, or do y'all have to review, or is there a review of the proposed business, and if it's even worth pursuing? And then how many of those folks, those entities, are becoming businesses that are actually producing revenue? Or how should, these are funds are our city taxpayers.
Yep.
And we need to figure out, our investment, how do we judge if it's paying off? Not that, it has a lot of feel good to it, but I'd like more data.
I 100% agree with you, and I completely concur. I believe in accountability to tax dollars. I have always been federally funded since I graduated from college. When I was a defense contractor, down to 15-minute increments, we had to be accountable, right? And so that's something I believe in. I've already talking with UNCW about a robust CRM where we will be able to track the evolution of the entrepreneur, how many jobs they're creating over the years, where they end up. It's something specifically created for businesses like us, and so that's in the state purchasing system already. Will be going out for bid for that because it's something critical for our long-term success. I will give you one small example. A company named Suzy, a digital marketing company who you might have heard of. William Mansfield came to town. He needed a place to land. He ended up with CIE. Of course, we supported him. He ended up moving out of our incubator to come downtown to create 40 jobs at $120,000 average each. So that's $4.8 million in impact. That's one example, but just because I'm a month in, I don't have the full story to tell, but I will.
But a year from now, or whenever we reconvene, hopefully you'll have.
I will.
All right, that's awesome.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's been lacking, and part of that's been because of all the turnover in your position. But
Well, I'm not going anywhere.
well, I hope not. And no, I love what you do. I just feel like the program for the longest time it's got great goals. You know, everything it's sold well. You know, that was a great feel-good presentation, but we just need that data. So I'd appreciate that in the future. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Mr. Waddell?
Appreciate the presentation. I'm going to piggyback on Neil just for a minute. I'm a little bit of background. I'm a small business owner, founder, CEO. I understand the struggles. I understand how difficult it is. One of the biggest headaches I have every year is cutting that check to the state and cutting that check to the federal government. So when we talk about spending tax dollars in perpetuity, that's important. So just to piggyback on Neil, it's really not a question, because I know you're fairly new in this position. It sounds like you're hard charging and you're going to do some great things. We'll want to see a significant amount of data for this investment, and we'll want to look at it really closely. Love the idea, love the background. I obviously was not on council when the initial decision was made to do a seed round. But in the continuing conversations, we're going to want to see a significant amount of data.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Number one, I just wanted to share with you that I've attended a number of the 1 Million Cups, which is an opportunity for people to hear about startup businesses, and I've always been really impressed with that. The other thing, you mentioned that when you celebrate the Global Entrepreneurial Summit Week, that you're going to send like mentors to UNCW school, classes. Can you send them to public schools?
That's really interesting. I will. I could probably do that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Thank you for that idea.
All right. Okay. Enjoyed your presentation too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you go back to one of your slides there? You had a number of companies that had been identified in your, there, all these. These are startups?
These are startups.
That have come out of the CIE.
Yes.
And you was telling us about Suzy, and I've heard of Suzy. I had no idea that they had put 40-some people downtown. And I think those are success stories that the CIE and the university needs to share with us. Because if we are investing taxpayers' dollars from here, we have to explain to the taxpayers why we're doing it. We heard nothing. And maybe it's our fault for not reaching out to you, but you obviously need to reach out to us to share these success stories. These are a lot of companies here. I have no idea how many jobs have been created by the CIE. There may be thousands, it looks like it is, but we have no idea because we haven't been given that data. So I would ask our city manager and you to keep in touch with these folks. We need to have that data immediately because we've got a lot of different entities and groups that are asking us for funding and help, and we want to help those, and we want to leverage the taxpayers' dollars to the best of our ability. So that's one. So I'd like to really know more about all these companies that have been created through the CIE and how many jobs have been created and the economic impact that it's had on the community. I think it's a great story, and I think it's something you guys need to talk about. The other thing that, when we talked about the CIE many years ago, was the startup funding for entrepreneurship. I think there was a Seahawk Fund at the time. There was supposed to be money raised by the Seahawk Fund. I have no idea if any money has been raised at all from the private sector to help these companies in their startup journey. And I think that's very important to us also, because as an entrepreneur, if you don't have any startup money, no matter how great the idea is, no matter how great the business plan is, it's not going to get off the ground. So I'd like to know a little bit more about that. If there's money there, if there's not money there, that's another thing. And then how do we help those companies that do need the startup funding or the seed money to get their companies started, if they're great ideas? And then I guess the other thing is would be, I guess, and I know you're just on the job, where are these entrepreneurs coming from? Are they coming from, I saw that there was an engagement with the university or the students of the university of 320, but are the majority coming from the area, from the student population? Where are the entrepreneurs that are coming to your institution or coming to your CIE there? Where are they coming from? I think that's very important, at least to me. And then where are those businesses being established? Are they being established in the city of Wilmington, in the county, in the region? And I know that the university is has a regional impact, and some of these companies will locate in Brunswick and Pender and Bladen and other places. But I'd like to know more about that also, the location of these businesses and the investment made. Because we're always talking about the investment that's going to be made in the city of Wilmington through the city taxpayer. And if that is being invested primarily in New Hanover County, then we need to have a discussion with New Hanover County to see what they can do to support some of your endeavors also.
Agreed.
I know they support the community college and other things, but we also like to know about some of that.
Yeah,
You can get that back to us pretty quick?
I can.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
course.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Caudle?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, you'll recall that we have some ARPA money set aside for digital.
Oh, wait, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
sorry.
Yes, sir,
Sorry,
Mr.
Tony.
Spears.
Yes, sir.
I thought we had one more presentation, but I was really just waiting to make my comments at the end, so I thought there was another presentation. So I apologize, Tony, for butting in on you like that. But I just wanted to thank Velva and Heather for their presentations today and for explaining the different areas of impact, well, the different areas of the community that they are impacting with their organizations, because I think was the last council meeting, we talked about economic development, and there was kind of a sense of redundancy. So many different organizations doing economic development, and we wanted to know where and how it's being impacted. And I think these presentations today showed us, Heather made a comment about entrepreneurs that are not part of the chamber. And that's a really good example. And even Velva's example with the two ladies with the cleaning company and even the cake baking. And I know about that. I have a sister who has a baking business. And so it is imperative for us to learn the impacts of these organizations, but it's also very, very, very important for the community and the people who need these organizations to learn of these resources. So I just wanted to say thank you to them, and this was very helpful.
Mr. Mayor, you will recall that you have some ARPA funding set aside for the purpose of helping bridge the digital divide in the community. Staff has been working with some local folks as well as some folks throughout the state to try to come up with a program that would move us towards bridging that divide. And so Jared Patterson would like to overview this item for us and introduce some of the folks that are involved. Jared?
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. I am pleased to be able to introduce this presentation on an initiative, a workforce development initiative to bridge the digital divide in the city of Wilmington. In a short while, you're going to hear from folks with Connected Communities, a North Carolina-based nonprofit, which has put a proposal together in cooperation with some local partners. And to kick things off, I want to provide a little bit of context for you, an overview of what you're about to hear. This is a digital skills training and job pairing initiative with targeted recruitment in qualified census tracts. These are census tracts that tend to be lower socioeconomic, lower levels of educational attainment. Part of this proposal also involves talent pipeline management, which is going to help us to understand what are those current jobs that exist within the Wilmington economy and what are those jobs that are on the horizon, actual jobs in the next 1, 3, and 5 years. This program would involve individualized curriculum and with a stated goal of reducing barriers to participation by providing a more flexible delivery method of training than you would typically see from traditional educational options. Part of this proposal is to leverage partnerships with our local nonprofits and businesses. And this is a data-driven proposal, which you're going to see, and is the city's investment is funded 100% through the American Rescue Plan. Quick history for you. This has been a part of City Council's ARPA framework since its inception. The COVID pandemic really brought to the forefront the presence of a digital divide, and City Council has, both in its words and its actions, demonstrated a real interest in helping to bridge that digital divide, placing more of our residents in a stronger position for economic and educational success, as well as improving the resilience of our local economy. Staff began working together to put a working group together to study ways that we could make a meaningful impact in this regard. And we identified the digital skills gap and particularly workforce development as a critical gap that needed to be filled in the community. We engaged in conversation with representatives of upwards of 15 nonprofits, service providers, and major local employers as a part of this, and consensus was reached on the need to have talent pipeline management to align classroom to career pathways so that those who are being trained have actual jobs that they're competitive for as they emerge, and also to reduce barriers to participation. The folks at Connected Communities were brought to our attention. They have a digital bridge concept underway right now in Wake Forest, North Carolina. Me and Aubrey Parsley took a site visit out there to learn more about that. And we provided some, from a staff perspective, what we thought were very important goals and objectives for anything that we would pursue to bridge the digital divide in this way. The first one is that we would want to focus on upskilling and reskilling our local workforce to participate in the digital economy. And second, we want to make sure that we are aligning the classroom to career pathways. A few major requirements that we also thought were very important was that this would not be duplicative of existing efforts that are already taking place in the community. This is not to be a city program, but rather to use our ARPA funding to be able to catalyze and support some community-based efforts in this regard. We want to strengthen civic and community partnerships and make this a value add to the totality of our nonprofit and business community. We want this to be sustainable beyond our initial funding so that it continues to bear dividends in this community. Transparency in use of funds and an identified path for success as we move beyond the 2-year funding period from our initial ARPA funding. I want to quickly introduce to you some of the participants in this program before inviting Matt Bauer up to speak with you. Step Up Wilmington is a partner in this proposal, providing a physical location, job training and placement services in this community, founded in 2003. They are amidst a 4-year goal to train and place 1,000 jobs in Wilmington, and having just spoken with Will, they're making very good progress towards that goal despite the COVID pandemic. Cape Fear Collective, known in this community as part of this proposal, would be providing talent pipeline management, data, and research services. You may be familiar with the Cape Fear Talent Survey and the Cape Fear Inclusive Economy Report. They're clearly very working in this, working in this space quite a bit. Connected Communities, Matt Bauer is here. He's going to be presenting to you the full proposal. They would be developing the curriculum and managing the day-to-day operations of this. They are right now having an ARPA-funded digital bridge project in Wake Forest, and I'm sure he'll share about that with you. Live Oak Bank, Kate Grote is here, has expressed real leadership in catalyzing employer participation in this effort, and then certainly the City of Wilmington providing initial 2-year funding and then continuing throughout the 2-year period with some regular review, audit, and compliance support as well. Future steps that I want to point out real quick. You're going to hear a presentation in just a little bit from Matt. Following this presentation, we look forward to any feedback that you would have for us. You're going to have an ordinance come up to authorize the funding and allowing the manager to establish agreements, contracts in place for this. Once those performance-based agreements are put in place, Digital Bridge would set up operations. We would be providing compliance and performance reviews and then see the path to future sustainability for this effort. And so now I want to invite Matt Bauer to step up to the podium and give you an overview of his proposal.
Good morning. Good morning. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, thank you for the opportunity to present our Digital Bridge Wilmington proposal. And let me make sure I have the, okay, good. I'm Matt Bauer. I'm Vice President of Connected Communities for WRC. And Digital Bridge Wilmington is a partnership working with local employers first, as well as national opportunities, to create a modern digital upskilling, reskilling, job pairing program. Digital Bridge meets residents and employers where they are and enables all segments of the population to take advantage of the digitization of our local economy. So breaking it, Jared did a great job of providing the high-level framework, so I'll dive a little bit more into the details of the program here, where we start with the target population, and that is focusing on the high opportunity, high need census tracts in Wilmington, where you have a low AMI, home ownership, service industry employees, lower educational attainment, and then bringing in, as he touched on as well, going out to the local employers and assessing for these middle skill digital positions, which when I say middle skill, it's post high school or GED, and then but short of a college degree. So where there are millions and millions of job opportunities in the country, and many that we've identified here as well. So we assess what the local employers are looking for, what skill sets they're looking for, and what kind of training they need to fill those positions. So that's job number one. And then for residents that don't attain jobs with local employers, we go out to the millions of middle skill digital positions that are available in the country today, and we we get them the training they need, and then pair them with those positions. And then also at the same time working with local businesses of all sizes and helping upskill their employees so they have the appropriate modern digital office skills to be the best they can be and to help their organizations be the best they can be. And here, these are obviously names everyone here knows, but Cape Fear, in the context of this project though, Cape Fear Collective is doing a number of things, but really setting the table, because we have to have our target of where we're going to go, get that roadmap set, and that's job number one. But then performing that ongoing data and measurement and analysis, which I've heard from, at least in front of me, all four of you this morning. Obviously data and measuring results and that constant improvement is very important, and we're going to install that from the very beginning of this project. And that also informs our curriculum development and improvement too, because there's a lot of off-the-shelf content that exists today, but we have to shape that for what the local employers' needs are. Step Up Wilmington, their new facility will be the initial home of Digital Bridge Wilmington, and could be for the long term as well. Step Up brings some really key elements to this project in terms of obviously their reputation, but also the connection with local employers already, the outreach channels and community reputation, but also the current scope of this really enhances and really builds on top of the work that they're already doing. And Digital Bridge, WRC, as the program lead, so we have the digital skilling platform, the learning and community management systems that are already built that we're bringing in that we would customize for this implementation, the budgeting, the forecasting, management, service delivery, reporting. So that's the component. So then stepping into a broader scale of employers and partners. So we would work very, very closely, as I mentioned before, with a whole cross-section of employers, not just large, not just medium, but small as well, across the area in all the different industries to determine what employees they're looking for and skills that they're looking for, and that's that talent pipeline management, so that we can really be laser focused in the training that we're delivering to folks who need it most to pair. Then we broaden out to the larger partners that we already have in place, and through Coursera and Google and Microsoft and Cisco at a high level, they have incredible content and career pathways and a number of different avenues that they've established, but I'll give a couple examples inside of that. So Coursera is offering Google certifications and courses that lead directly to jobs. As soon as you have these certifications, then you can start applying for jobs in the open market. Cisco's Networking Academy, so Digital Bridge has become Cisco Networking Academy. There's a whole specific set of employee pathways there and career pathways. And then Microsoft, touching on a couple different areas. One is we're working with them for computers and different software that sits on those computers at a discounted rate that clients can, of the Digital Bridge, can access. But also they have a program called TEALS, and we were able to get Wake Forest High, which is in the neighborhood of our Digital Bridge in Wake Forest, to be one of the first in the state to be a TEALS, which is going to be rolling out this fall, which is a preset computer science curriculum that is deployed in the school and that can feed right into these careers. And then they also have an enormous amount of content that's out there and available to us as well for these digital upskilling opportunities. Our process, it starts with the outreach. So we go out to the community, we go out in the community and engage folks that are interested in upskilling and reskilling and attaining these new career levels. And then they can sign up via mydigitalbridge.org, attend one of our orientation sessions, or come in for a live session to get started. Then we do a digital skills assessment, so everybody gets level set. Where are you in the process? This is the part where we're meeting them where they are, so they're able to see, here are my challenges, here are the things I need to upskill. And then they sit down and they get assigned a digital coach where they do their goal setting, and then they move on to the skills, the actual skills training, and then to the job matching and job pairing that occurs at the end. Everything I'm talking about I can drill into for a long time, but I'm just skipping a stone across the top here, and any questions that you have, happy to answer. So then when it comes to the curriculum design, sort of going back over a couple dynamics of getting folks in the community, meeting them where they are, and then that job, that pipeline management element, so that we are really bringing them together in a bespoke way. And then the upskilling of existing businesses and organizations in the community. And then what does that look like in terms of time frame? It's arranged depending on where they come out in their digital skills assessment. It's arranged, or the complexity of the curriculum that they'll be going for. If you're doing a data entry position versus a Python programming, it's going to have a lot different timeline to it, or the Cisco Network Academy. So it's a range of 1 to 12 months, moving people along, and then they get helped along by the digital coaches in the community. And then we bring our proprietary learning management system, as well as the learning systems that are existing there from our partners. And here's where we get to, again, heard it, very, very key in terms of the data measurement and analysis. And we see this as the lifeblood of the program, because it not only sets the table, and I love this quote that's in the Cape Fear Talent: "The success of a region and state depends on a well-educated workforce that's equipped with an applicable skill set." And so we look at that and what Cape Fear can bring in terms of creating that detailed measurement and evaluation model that will continually optimize everything that we're doing. So it'll provide that feedback loop so that we can, quickly move forward with a real intelligent roadmap. And some examples of the data that we'll be looking at: the AMI average mean income, looking to raise that significantly while decreasing the number of folks living at or below poverty. And these are the types of determinants that we can measure as we go along, that also, did they get a higher paying job? Yes. Did they improve their livelihoods? But by how much? And what did it do for the business? In terms of sustainability, I want to stop and just compliment the city on its vision here, and the community in terms of there really seemed to be a synchronicity going on between seeing this moment where there's a significant number of folks that are behind on this digital skills area that we call the digital skills gap. And so to that end, there's a lot of funding coming out that was seen as part of the Broadband Act, but it's actually a separate piece, and that's the Digital Equity Act, which is $2.5 billion. And that those funds are not going to probably start hitting the streets until later next year or the year after. There's some planning grant money that's coming out, but half will go to the state, half you can apply for directly, and it's specifically for this work. This is exactly what the Digital Equity Act is looking to fund, and that is separate from the broadband component, but they are intertwined in that there has to be that digital equity component. We're also in discussions with Microsoft, Ford, AT&T, and others in terms of funding, as well as private family offices. A lot of folks are looking to get into this from a funding perspective because the benefits are so huge. And then looking at the local nonprofits, private and corporate partners, and leveraging those as much as possible. So that's sort of a funding angle of the sustainability. And then the other side is the earned income strategy, which would be around deploying digital business outsourcing or digital business process outsourcing. That's a lot. We'll just call it digital BPO, which is basically like a service desk. So we'll build that out inside of the organization, and we already have the framework for that, where we, instead of just connecting folks one by one with employment opportunities and careers, that we would have a contract with, say, GE, that they need 25 data entry folks, and we're able to provide that as a service to them, that we do that out of the organization, and there's a fee-based element to that. We'll build a trade organization which provides that virtual community and some potential benefits, like giving them access to healthcare and other things, where if they are an individual for hire, a small micro entrepreneur, if you will, that they can get some of those benefits. And then these corporate services, which are fee-based, upskilling and reskilling that we can do for businesses and organizations in the area. The budget is roughly about $2.5 million, and that covers the building, the ramp, the setup costs associated with this, as well as 2 years of operations. And then we get into the timeline, which is, if we are to get approval in August of 2022. Not saying that's a must, but our momentum is in place, and we'd love to get going. The partnership's in place, and if we can get going in August, in terms of the check to go forward, check mark, then in September, December, in that time frame, we can start the project set up and build out, and then start outreach in November, December as well, with the launch projected in January. And then the phase 1 would be complete in August of ·24, and that's a good general outline of the timeline it would take to get going. And I just again want to compliment the city and the community. We're deep in this work, not just here in North Carolina, but in other places, and are working alongside other organizations like the FCC. I'm on the Communications Equity Diversity Council, and we're leading the area that's doing digital skilling, and this is a really beautiful project, and we feel very confident in the partnership and with the city and with local partners that we could determine a great pathway and success here. And so thanks again for the opportunity to present. And if you have any questions, please.
Any questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Waddell.
More of a statement. I have one little follow-up question, but my initial response to this is that it's a really innovative initiative for the city to be involved in, and might be the best use of ARPA funding that I've seen in my short time on council. But I love the idea of partnering with the private sector, of folks, you know, who have a vested interest in getting homegrown workforce trained up here. I guess my initial question is, have we already kind of engaged some of these local business stakeholders just to gauge their interest and their level of involvement?
Yes, there have been discussions going on, and actually we had a call last week, and Kate is here from Live Oak, but I'll just paraphrase that some of the companies and larger entities, like, when can we get started? You know, we're desperate for this talent, we're desperate for this training and for these employees. So I feel that the employer readiness for this in the community is very solid, and feel confident about that. Thank you.
Anderson?
Thanks for the presentation. We'd been presented an overview prior just to kind of get check our temperature, so it wasn't all new to us, but your face and voice are, so
Okay.
welcome.
Thank you.
I guess to a little bit on Luke's comments, but this is super exciting to me because I think I don't know if it was mentioned. You went pretty quick, which we appreciate, but talking about identifying census tracts and trying to, I mean, the impact this could have on our city. I mean, it could potentially change so many folks' lives and their families' lives, and I mean, it's gonna kind of flywheel to all the way down to whether people can afford housing here to live here, whether people, I mean, it's just a super positive, crime, et cetera, because some of these people you're gonna capture are people that their future, they kind of felt like a dead end. So it's super exciting to me. So I wish you well, and I can't wait for it to be on the agenda. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Barnett?
I too support the program, and when we heard the pre-information about it, the thing that was exciting was recognizing that to do something with the digital divide, the city thought about what they were going to do before, just putting up sites. Okay, but then my question to you, though, because you have a program in Wake Forest, correct? Mm-hmm. All right. What's been your greatest challenge there? And secondly, what would you do differently here?
Well, I think our greatest challenge there has been getting it started and getting the word out into the community. We have a different situation here in that we're partnered with Step Up, and that it's an existing organization already in the community. You can walk by it and so on. We made a decision for our first hub to locate it at the historic Du Bois campus in Wake Forest, in the town of Wake Forest, purposely because it was in the neighborhood that we wanted to serve first, and then emanated out from there. So it is not a high traffic area, if you will. So we have to do a lot more hand-to-hand outreach, and we're going to the churches, and we're going to the Rotary meetings, and we're going to door to door, and we're literally knocking on doors and getting folks in there. And I don't know that we would have done that differently. I still feel good about that decision to have it at that at the campus and center there. But I think that's an opportunity for us here, where we're going to have a lot more momentum just out of the gate, because there's existing programs that we're standing on the shoulders of, as opposed to starting from scratch, which we had to do there. So I feel like that problem for us has been answered, and that difficulty. We built out all the systems, we built out all the relationships. There was a lot of hard work that was associated with the Wake Forest element, and that was, I want to compliment them as well, and the mayor and the council there. They were very, it was a brave move to move first in this, and it is really paying dividends, and we're getting a good feedback from the community and a lot of results. But this is on a different scale, and I think we can have a huge impact here.
Okay, look forward to you doing that. Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Yes.
And your support.
One of the things that we constantly hear is that we have programming and people don't know about it, and you just alluded to some of the challenges. I also want to ask our council members, because I know that we have connections in the community, that we at least share with your group some of the entities and groups or sororities or whatever that we feel that you folks should contact, to make sure that that information is out there. And I would also ask our city manager to see if we could use our city facilities, like the Maids Park, the new gym there. We have a lot of people going there. We have MLK Center. We have a lot of different things around our community. And the Simpsons tracks that you're talking about, we need to make certain that the folks, the citizens in those parts of the community, know that this program exists and there's an opportunity there. And so I challenge all of us here on council to make sure that we get back with your group some of the people or groups or entities that we think that you should be contacting and reaching out to. And I hope all council members are listening to this that are on remote too, because I know they've always had concerns about how the community engages and understands and finds out where these programs are. I know Step Up is a great organization here in the community. I know you have a great team here put together, but in the grassroots of where we need to go to make sure that this information gets out there, we have a responsibility to play in this as much as you folks do. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, Mr. Spears.
I don't think anybody is happier about this presentation and the possibility of what this can be than me. You know, I've always championed for what we can do to impact the lives of the citizens in our community, and I'm just really excited about this, and I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the help that we can provide with a program of this magnitude, and that we actually do what we say we're going to do. So this was a really good presentation. Thank you, sir. And
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing what we can do to make this thing really happen.
Thank you very much. I can't echo it more. We don't win unless that outreach occurs. It's a stone soup situation. Everybody has to get in and get involved. But once you do get the flywheel going, and I think the flywheel is a perfect analogy, word gets out. People will talk about it. Folks will start coming in. They'll hear about it in their day-to-day interactions, right? Oh, did you hear what's going on over there at Digital Bridge? You know, you need to get over there. That will happen, but we have to get that flywheel going, and that's really important. So coming out of the gate fast and fast and furious. Let's, you know, we're ready to do that. So it sounds like the right pieces are all in place. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I guess since you hadn't heard from me and Margaret, we ought to do 2 bids, 4 bids. It's a good project, and, you know, just because I'm here and not down there, we're all set on go.
Okay.
That's all.
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, we now have a request for a closed session. For those of you who are participating remotely, a Zoom link should have been sent to you where you can join the closed session and participate equally.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I'm going to need to take a vote, or I'm going to need to ask for a motion to go into closed session and wait a minute, is there a motion to enter into a closed session pursuant to the provisions of General Statute 143-31811, A3 and A5 in order for the City Council to, number one, consult with and provide instruction to the city attorney regarding potential legal claims, including the case of McGlivery versus the City of Wilmington, ETAL, file number 22 CVS 1635, and two, consult with the city attorney regarding a proposed workers' compensation settlement in the matter of Ryan N. Kuzayan versus the City of Wilmington, IC number 19-003811, and three, instruct the city staff regarding the city's negotiating position concerning the possible acquisition of real property. We have a motion made by Councilmember Waddell, second by Councilmember Barnett. We will have to take a roll call. Mayor Pro Tem, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Reinbark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Anderson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Barnett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Spears, how do you vote? Councilmember Spears? Councilmember Waddell, how do you vote? And the chair votes aye. We will now go into closed session.
Mr. Mayor, if you could read that bolded section so that folks
And
understand.
I'm sorry, and the closed session will be held in the city manager's conference room. At the end of that, we will, council will reopen its public session and adjourn from that location without returning to council chambers.